me a look when it's
Okay.
time to go.
Now close your eyes and imagine what it would be like to be sent on an 8-hour bus ride to the middle of nowhere with nobody you knew. Well, the main character in the amazing book Holes, Stanley Yelnats, experienced just that. The summary. Most people can agree that the main character in the amazing book Holes is a child under a curse. His curse began with his no good, dirty, rotten pig great-great-grandfather. The boy was framed for something he didn't do. This resulted in the boy being sent on an 8-hour bus ride to the middle of nowhere. This unusual place was named Camp Green Lake, but it had no water, except for an old man who drives around in a water truck. He then decides to go or run away and live in the wilderness. Will he survive or will he not? I don't know. I hope you enjoy these unusual events that happen in the book Holes. The characters. The characters are Stanley Yelnats. Stanley Yelnats is the main character of the book. He runs away with Zero later on in the book, and Zero also has a pretty big role in the book. And then there's Armpit and X-Ray. There's Squid, Magnet, Zigzag, and then Twitch appears later on in the book. And then there's the Warden. The Warden kind of runs everything. She's the leader of Camp Green Lake. And then there's Mr. Sir. Mr. Sir is the man who drives around in the water truck. And there's Mr. Pendency. Mr. Pendency is kind of like the counselor of these kids' group. The setting. The setting takes place at Camp Green Lake. Camp Green Lake is in Texas, and there's a few flashbacks to the 19th century. Holes takes place in a dried out lake caused by a drought. This unusual place is for kids who have done something illegal. There are many kids at Camp Green Lake, about 6 per group. How would you feel if you were sent to a dried out and scary place? I know I wouldn't feel good. Part 2. Around the middle of the book, there are only 2 blank pages with 5 words. Part 2, The Last Hole. This made me wonder if Stanley's last hole will be at Camp Green Lake, or if the police will come and arrest them and bring every kid to real jail. So what really happened in Part 2? Well, nothing really changed in Part 2, except the 2 main characters ran away. One fell down a hill, landed in mud, was really sick, they passed out, and then, that was Zero, one of the main characters. Stanley, being the good friend he is, climbed up the mountain holding Zero, and then they were surviving off of onions. So yeah, nothing too drastically changed. The message. I think that the message of the amazing book Holes is to know what's right and the importance of friendship. This leads me to my favorite part of the book. My favorite part of the book is when Stanley and Zero make a deal. Since Zero always finishes his hole first, and since Zero always finishes his hole first, and he didn't know how to read or write, Stanley would teach him how to read and write so Zero could finish Stanley's hole. At the beginning of the book, these 2 characters didn't really like each other or really know each other, so I think it's really important how they became close friends. In this picture, you can see how Stanley is teaching Zero how to read and write, and in this picture, Zero is digging Stanley's hole. They are fist bumping, which I think resembles friendship. Oh, and there's a part that talked about Zero's little giraffe. Zero had a little giraffe, and his name was Jaffe. Jaffe was basically Zero's little emotional support animal, and Zero took Jaffe everywhere. But once he went to Camp Green Lake, Jaffe was off limits. My favorite character. My favorite character is Zero because he seems like a very determined person. Whenever he was struggling to survive, he got back up again. I also like Stanley Yelnats because his name is super cool. Stanley Yelnats. Now, I'll give you about 10 seconds to try to figure out what's so cool about his name. Time's up. Brian?
His last name is his first name spelled backwards.
Yes, so it's Stanley, and then his last name is spelled Stanley backwards. So it's Stanley Yelnats both ways. About the author. Louis Sachar was born on March 20th, 1954 in New York. He then moved to California at only age 9. Surprisingly, he just discovered his passion for reading in high school. He started to then write books and won the John Newbery Medal, National Book Award for Young People's Literature, and the Dorothy Canfield Fisher Children's Book Award. This is how the amazing author of Louis Sachar became an author. He also wrote many other books that's not Holes. He wrote Fuzzy Mud, which is a pretty good book, and then there's Sideways Stories from Wayside School, The Boy in a Girl's Bathroom, and Sideways Stories to Wayside School, the second one, Marvin Redpost's Kidnapped at Birth, and then there's Dogs Don't Tell Jokes, Marvin Redpost's Class President, and The Boy Who Lost His Face, and then there's Small Steps, or as I like to call it, Baby Steps. Oh wait, that's not all. I wanted to see what it's like at camping. So I went in my backyard and I dug a hole, but then I realized that it's much harder than it looks. I measured the shovel, and if you can see, it's not exactly 5 feet. The shovel at Camp Green Lake had to be 5 feet, so then they could measure their holes, because the holes had to be 5 feet wide, 5 feet in length, and then 5 feet deep. So mine was just a little under, but it's okay. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope that you get to try to read this book soon. You can buy it at any local bookstore near you. Thank you.